Member MP Irion. Question 1. When would mental health support for teachers and students take place? Is there a budget for this? Is it budgeted for 2025? What is the timeline? How will this be executed? Response. Yes, an annual allocation of 20,000 euros has been secured from the TWO projects for the years 2025 through 2027. This funding is intended to support training initiatives which also extend to include educators. Further planning and coordination are necessary to ensure the effective implementation of the mental health support training program. Question 2. What subsidies are in place to support housing for individuals with mental health challenges? When is housing support expected to be implemented? The budget includes no housing subsidies or plans for one. Where is this addressed within the ministry's outline? Where are the relevant policy detailed in the budget? Response. Currently, no subsidies of this nature are offered by the Ministry of VSA, other than what is provided through the AVBZ Fund for Guided Living by the White and Yellow Cross. The implementation of the housing subsidy requires careful planning and adequate budgetary provision. As such, the ministry provided input to VROMI on the housing policy that they are currently drafting. Question 3. Who are you developing clinical guidelines with? Response. The clinical guidelines will be developed in collaboration with and for family physicians and mental health care providers. This initiative forms an integral part of improving mental health services delivery. Question 4, regarding telehealth. It was mentioned that what is needed is an integrated science-based strategy for implementing these services to ensure that patients' rights are upheld. Has the science-based strategy and associated legislative process begun? Madam Chair Lady, this question was also posed by the Honourable Member of Parliament, Otley. Through you, I would like to request permission to answer both MPs at this time. Response. No, it has not yet commenced. However, it is important to note that the elements of telemedicine are already being utilized within the mental health sector. For example, online consultation and online assessments. Question 5. How can Mental Health Foundation have the ability to take on more individuals after a hurricane? Response. What was mentioned is that with the finalization of the National Mental Health Strategic Plan and the completion of the new mental health facility funded through the Trust Fund, the crisis response capacity will be improved and increased. Question 6. Madam Chair Lady, there were 4 questions from MP Otley, 2 from MP York, and 3 from MP Irion, all concerning 1, the master schedule and access to the master schedule, 2, communication within government and with NRPB, 3, the consultant's engagement and its purpose. Madam Chair Lady, through you, I would like to address these questions collectively. As the time elapsed since the previous parliamentary meeting has resulted in development in the situation. Concerning number 1, the master schedule and access to the master schedule. The draft master schedule is currently in my possession, and I, as Minister, am actively engaging with the relevant stakeholders to review and refine it. The draft master schedule has been provided by NRPB, which in collaboration with VSA has been updated. As with any complex initiative, there are several interconnected components that requires thorough analysis and thoughtful consideration. Once all elements of the project, particularly the various phases, have been finalized, we will be in position to provide more comprehensive and transparent update to the public. Concerning number 2, communication with government and with NRPB regarding access to the master schedule. The communication with NRPB has improved, and we continue to work on it. Since we now have access to the master schedule, this question is no longer relevant. Concern number 3, consultants' engagement and its purpose. A qualified technical expert with experience in project management of this nature is being recruited to support the upcoming phases of the mental health project currently managed by NRPB. The expert's primary responsibilities will include monitoring the execution of the construction of the new mental health facilities and provide timely advice on the financial and technical aspects of the project. The role will focus on project monitoring and oversight, feasibility analysis, risk management, and ensuring the timely delivery of key project deliverables. Given the comprehensive nature of this mental health project, which includes legislation, policy, training, and construction, different technical consultants have been engaged to address the various components. Once the recruitment process is finalized, the ministry will have in place both technical assistance for the soft element, such as policy and training, and the hard element, such as construction. The recruitment of technical assistance, specifically for monitoring the construction phase of the mental health facility, is still pending. Question 7. When did the process of updating the function book begin? Who is taking lead of this initiative? And when can we expect to receive the final draft? As it relates to VSA, this process was initiated prior to my time in office, with the latest update up to June 2024. After being sworn in as minister, the ministry picked up this process again. We expect a draft to be finalized by 2025. Question 8. Is event planning tool scheduled to be implemented in 2026? Once completed in time, yes. Question 9. Can you confirm whether any of the 30 new hires will be placed within the Ministry of VSA? 10 applicants were found eligible for positions within the Ministry of VSA. Since then, interviews have taken place, and 2 of these applicants are currently in the negotiation phase. Question number 10. Funds for mental health were earmarked and paid out. How much was paid out? And what is the balance? Could the minister clarify what went wrong in the signing off process of this advice? Additionally, who was responsible for signing it? Madam Chair Lady, this question was also posed by the Honourable Member of Parliament York. Through you, I would like to request permission to answer both MPs at this time. After the funds were approved through Budget Amendment 2024, there was an interministerial miscommunication as to the follow-up to the processing of payment. I can report now The 1.3 million guilders for 2024 has been totally paid out. The 1.2 million guilders that are still pending will be paid out soon. The current delay had to do with the approval of the budget of 2025. Those were all the questions posed by the Honourable Member of Parliament, Irian.
Are you SXM insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXM is cardless. Request your My SXM account today and enter the virtual office of SXM. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXM, yeah. Your social health insurances.
The Ministry of Vromi Department of Infrastructure Management, together with the Police Department KPSM, is making changes to traffic on a section of Canagita Street and Manzanella Stake, Phillipsburg. The Canagita Street from the intersection with Percy LaBega Street to Manzanella Stake will now be a one-way street. Inbound traffic can enter Canagita Street from Percy LaBega Street and drive straight ahead or turn left into Manzanella Stake. Outbound traffic leaving town on Canagita Street must make a right turn onto Manzanella Stake. Entry further into the Canagita Street will no longer be permitted. Outbound traffic exiting Manzanella Stake onto Walter Nisbet Road can either make a right or left-hand turn. The Ministry of Vromi, Department of Infrastructure Management, and the Police Department would like to thank the public for their attention to this change. Please follow the new traffic rules and signage and drive safely.
(24/7) TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, Com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
There is any discussion or any thought on computer access, even computer access, let's say for classes as well, or computer classes. It doesn't have to be online, but I know that there is issues with opening online for prisoners completely, but that limited would have been good, and it was also a request from them at the time. So if you're also looking at anything, doing anything with computer classes or computer access. And then also, again, commendation for the 15 people that you're trying to hire for 2026. Will that be enough, or are you looking at also having more people in 2027 and doing it in a phased approach, hiring, and how many people do you think will be enough, or at what year would you reach the amount that you need to run the prison in the best and optimal.
Seeing that there is a lack of guards, how many guards are currently out on sick leave, and is there a plan to evaluate that as well, seeing that it's quite clear that there are more guards needed? That's a process. Other MPs already asked how it will, the increase will take place over the years, but currently what we have, how many guards we currently have and how many guards are on sick leave, and what is being done in regards to that. Seeing the fire that recently has taken place, I would like to know what the current capacity is of the Point Blanche prison. I can remember it was 80 capacity. Are we still there? Is it less? So I would like to get an answer in regards to that through you, Madam Chair. Then the famous articles 132, 137, I can currently dream those, but in regards to Article 137, I could have asked it in a clarification round, but I chose not to do so. But I would like to get some clarity, and maybe it's an additional question, so I use it for my second round. On one hand, when I read the law, and the law states the Ministry of Justice, but then the Ministry of Justice is the one that can decide in regards to an urgent measure as capacity to release inmates. That's one. That's what the law states if you read the law. Then, on the other hand, I have read in several articles, and that's why I don't want to have the misconception and the confusion out there in the public that it's being mentioned that the CCR, the prison director, and the probation office are the ones that can decide on that. But I don't read that in Article 137, and I just want to have it clear so that everyone knows who is the one that decides and who's the authority that can make that decision. So, to clarify, is it the Ministry of Justice, so the minister, that can decide based on the law, or is it other parties, CCR, prison director, public prosecutor office, or probation office? Other than that, in the timeline in regards to the proposal, I already asked that question, so if I can get an answer in regards to the proposal and if the motions will be also incorporated in that. Also to get clarification, it was mentioned, I think, in the introduction in regards to the sewing room, and I understood my colleague MP Otley also mentioned it, and the music room, that those are operational. Just to get that clear, Minister, if it was recently checked if it's indeed operational. Also in regards to the carpentry shop, because there seems to be a little misunderstanding there, and I just would like to know if it's really operational or not.
I've heard so much talks of that specific word, rehabilitation. So the question I have for the minister is, what is her definition of rehabilitation? That is question one. Then my next question is, for example, if I committed a crime when I was 17, 18 years, was incarcerated, did my time, 20 years later, is that still being held against me for whatever reasons? That is a question that I'd really like the legal part of it from the minister, but I'll also like her personal opinion on that question. So I'll repeat the question. A crime was committed when an individual was 17, 18, 19 years, did 1 year in the penitentiary. It is 20 years further. How does the minister view that? And someone that has never again come in any contact with the justice system.
I do see an increased patrol over St. Martin as of the past week, mitigation of bikes, and of course, many stakeholder meetings over the course. It is to my opinion that we must be more vigilant, especially entering the high season. We have to focus on how we can keep working together, business owners, island-wide, government, our citizens, as we also do have to take responsibility of our own. The questions I want to touch today were some from the budget debate, which still remain unanswered due to the response being the information was not shared from the prosecutor's office due to the time. I do see this information as necessary. So, firstly, how many convicted persons are still awaiting to serve their sentences in Point Blanche? Is this information being treated as a secret by the prosecutor? I do believe this is vital for the country to know. How is it decided which individuals from this group actually serve their time? Is there a particular criteria used? Usually we hear that it is case by case, but I believe it shouldn't be, because government decisions must be based on transparent and established policies. How long can a person remain free before they're required to serve their sentence? Is there a statute of limitations? Many of these questions, as I said, I've asked before, and I'm repeating it as it was said. Due to the time constraint, we couldn't get the information divulged from the prosecutor. Additionally, how many people have been arrested for gun possession in the last 2 years, and how many of them are actually serving their time? Violent crime continues to rise. While the police are making arrests, the real question is how many offenders, if any, are actually ending up behind bars? How much leniency is given to first-time gun offenders? We know that they are a major problem in our society. It is too easy to obtain one, too easy to rob any store across St. Martin, too easy to target tourists, and too easy to victimize our own locals. Of course, I heard the minister mention plans are in place to track the gun source, which I commend as well. Furthermore, we do need concrete ideas to improve our community safety. The excuse of not enough police cannot stand on its own. For example, in New York City and many U.S. cities, off-duty police officers are permitted to work as security guards. I've often heard the rumbles that most individuals are against this, yet it works elsewhere. But if this cannot be done here, then what are the alternatives? I would like to hear the further proposals in mitigating our issue as a whole, moving further. And all in all, as I mentioned, I appreciate what I've seen over the past week especially, and I continue to look forward for us all actually, to work with one another to find the concrete solutions to solve this long-term issue that we're facing.
I would also like to congratulate the ministry as well as KPSM for the job they've been doing. It's very noticeable that the traffic situation has gotten better, especially with the scooter riders and all the reckless riding, so great job there. Also great job on securing the funding for the rehabilitation programs for the prison. This was a major concern of mine. Over the last couple of justice meetings, I have inquired about specifically people that are waiting to serve their sentences from the ages of 18 to 25. Reason being, we have to make sure cater to that age group, especially when they return out of prison from their sentences. I know in some countries, especially the United States, you have an expungement programs where it's mostly for juveniles, but I would like to see a program, we spoke about it privately, but I'll say here publicly, I would like to see those young offenders that have less serious crimes, they have the opportunity to come out, participate in communal programs, whether it's GED, trainings, etc. Because as we know, it's already difficult to get a job in our job market. Now, once your employer requests a conduct report, and that is negative, it increases the chance of not getting it. So I'd love to see a program where we could work with the prosecutor and justice and the court for Volgograd, where these young men or women have the opportunity to earn that second chance and have a clean slate.
Insurance is SXM. Your social and health.
SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah. Your social health insurances.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, comm programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
So I'll start then with MP Johnson-Webster. When it comes to, the first was more, I think, a remark question. When it comes to access to computers, allowing computer access, computer classes, this is something that we're looking at and is part of also that soft component design that we will be working on with UNODC. So to see, how we can facilitate something like that. Then I was asked about that phased approach to hiring. How many will be enough and at what year will we reach the right amount? So one of the things, of course, we have a current function book for Harvey Bay. That function book will need to change for the new facility because we'll have new needs when it comes to that new facility, also different type of security and things like that. So one of the things that we need to look at, and that's also a task of UNODC, will be actually coming up with that formation and that function book for that new facility and what it needs to look like. So at this point, we don't have an exact figure of how many guards we will need for that new facility or how much staff will be enough, because that will also depend on the choices that we make when it comes to rehabilitation programs, what types of things we want to be able to provide within the prison. All of those choices are going to inform eventually what amount of guards that we need. And also we're using much more technology in order to be able to check and see what's going on. So for example, in the design of the new facility, the way that we have the towers now, there will be no towers in the new facility. Everything will happen via CCTV and a central point of control. So all of these will also affect our staffing numbers and how we utilize the staff that we have. The 15 for next year is also meant because we really need that additional impulse, and the current staff are really suffering under the conditions that we're having them work in 12-hour shifts with small amounts of people, and that compounds sick leave as well. So that's why we're trying to give them that breathing room and bring in that additional 15, and then start assessing what that growth plan needs to look like towards 2027 and 2028. Then I get to MP Lewis. Can the minister confirm that the committee established by Minister Richardson is still active? And then I know I heard about multiple committees, because I believe there was a committee from Minister Richardson, and then as you said, you yourself had a committee, and what we've done in this process is look at how we can, as quickly as possible, assemble the batches. So those committees, as they existed under Minister Richardson's tenure and years as well, were reshuffled a little bit. We're getting assistance from the different HR departments, and in one specific situation, somebody from KPSM that I know was involved in your committee has also been assisting us in compiling those. So not in the format that you were used to them, but we have been utilizing those individuals still to provide us the information. Then is the same colleague that left the one doing the validation? I know that there's a team at SOAB conducting the validation process. So that is, for SOAB, how they're utilizing the staff that they have. Can the minister explain how we're going to get it done by the end of the year? We've been really putting all our resources into this, to the point, that even my cabinet staff is involved in helping and trying to see as much as they can. And, it shouldn't be necessarily work for the cabinet, but because we think it's important, that's where we're putting in as much resources as we can to ensure that it's getting done by the end of the year. And then in that respect, we've also revamped the objection committee, We have a new chair of the objection committee and a new secretary, and they have already started the work of compiling all the old objections that were there that were also lodged in different places for us to try to clean up that process and have a plan. And they're currently working on their new work plan and their plan of approach for that, and hope to update us soon. So all of these components are going into us really trying to quickly get through both the objections that have been there pending for too long, as well as the ones in that new procedure. And then I have part of the question here, because it said, does phase one, I think it was phase one, include the pensioners, and another group was mentioned? And then what measures is the minister taking to avoid unnecessary litigation related to the justice workers? So phase one is just everybody that was in service as of January 1st, 2023, up until today. So if you went on pension prior to January 1st, 2023, unfortunately, you will not be in phase one. It means that you will come after that. And of course, in phase two, we are looking at giving preference to those individuals who are already at the pension age, and, of course, looking at giving them their payments with priority. And what we're trying to do to avoid unnecessary litigation, I agree, litigation costs are one that I always love to avoid if we can, because I think that money can be better spent somewhere else. But sometimes it's also inevitable, and coming from a background as an attorney here as well, I realize that here in St. Martin, we also like to take people to court, and we don't like to settle as much. We rather a judge tell us that we're wrong or we're right than have to admit it to one another. So I know that no matter how many safeguards you put in place, you're always going to have an objection. You're always going to have an appeal. And that is also, through you, Madam Chair, good MP pointed out to me in a parliamentary meeting as well, everybody has that right to object and to appeal. So we don't want to take that away from them, but what we're trying to do to cut that back is having those individual discussions, and again, giving that provisional LBA along with the entire validation file is being provided to the staff, so they can look to see how the ministry came to that decision, and then they can object at that point to the objection committee before the LBA is final, so that we hope that then they don't have to end up in court after the fact and have to pay lawyers and things like that. So, is any system perfect? No, but we're hoping that what we've seen in the previous systems, that we can minimize the having to go to court. Then I think already I said, the litigation cost was covered. When it comes to the function book of the Coast Guard, I can confirm that yesterday, as part of the Landsbesluit Rechtspositie Kustwacht, that function book has to then also be approved by MB, signed by the Minister of AZ, and that was done yesterday. So actually you were ahead of me, because after this I was planning to go back to the office and inform the Coast Guard, but now they know from this. So it has been approved in that respect. Then I have about the state of the police station. That is also a big concern of mine. And in my, again, those are not things that happen from one day to the next, but I hope within my tenure that I can secure a new police station for the police as part of our plans, because that building does not meet the operational needs of KPSM, and it's also not a great place to have our people work. I spent a lot of time there during the prison crisis, because we had a little crisis room over there, and it rains and water is in the hallways. They have foil bins catching water. There's mold. There's, as I've also been informed, and we're in discussion with the Ministry of General Affairs, because it is a government building. It does not fall under the responsibility of the Ministry of Justice, unfortunately, to get those repairs done. So we are in discussion with facilities to see what can be done. And again, in the long term, we're looking at how we can facilitate that. We're also working with the NRPB as part of the emergency repairs to the police cells. There was also some work now, which we've been told, will help with the lifespan or the operationalization of that building, not only for inmates, but also for staff. And so we're looking at how we can cover those expenses, because they exceed the amount that we've been provided by BZK. So it might be that come 2026 budget, there's a CapEx reservation in there for me asking Parliament to assist to help us with some repairs to the police station that can at least stretch the lifespan of the building while we figure out if we can get funding to build a new one.